Right, we're live.
Lovely.
God, that's a pain in the dick.
Is it?
But it's because that, like, go live. Are you sure you want to go live? Just make sure. Then broadcast.
Definitely live.
Because it should, yes, slide up in here.
Oh, very cool. I like it.
Yes. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Boxing, Weights and Rugby YouTube channel. And today, my very special guest, where we'll be talking rugby. How you doing, man?
I'm not bad. How are you, man?
All good, all good. Looking forward to this. Definitely prepared. You've done better than I have in the preparation for this.
I mean, it was a train journey here from Pullman to Glasgow that I've done it on, so I can't say that it was overly prepared.
Yeah.
But we've talked about this for a long time, so I'm
We're
looking
going to
forward
start. So, nice and simple. What we're going to go through today is we're going to have a chat about Scotland particularly. So we'll do our own review of the Six Nations for Scotland. We're going to go through our team of the Six Nations as well as our thoughts on the player of the tournament. And then finally, we'll select a player from each team that we thought was at their best, and we'll have a chat through that. So, let's get started. What do you think of Scotland?
Yeah, it was exactly where we thought them would be.
Yeah.
Where we thought they would be. Let's be honest. Third was probably the best we were going to produce against what is world number one and world number two in Ireland and France. I felt like we turned up against England. We demolished Wales. In the France game, the first half we were there, and then the second half they probably just showed their class a bit more. Ireland game, probably very similar. And then the Italy game, I felt like it was probably a drop in performance from us, but when we were missing Finn and Hoggy, it was to be expected. Kinghorn, personally, I don't feel is a natural 10.
No.
He's a much better 15 than he ever will be a 10, but he's probably a very good player to have going into the World Cup. And if Hoggy gets injured, Blair Kinghorn can step in. If Finn gets injured, Blair Kinghorn can step in. So he's a brilliant bench player for Scotland at the moment. And with Hoggy obviously retiring at the end of this year.
We'll get to that.
Yes, I know.
Yeah, we'll cry over Hoggy later. I told you like the script is started for the Hoggy video, so it's emotional.
Yes, I'm going to cry.
Receptionist came in, I was like, why are you crying? No reason. Don't ask, it'll be fine.
But overall, much better in comparison to the autumn.
Mm-hmm.
Much better. I felt like as a team, we were much better than last year's Six Nations. So overall, yeah, very positive. I think third was, as I said, probably best, but it was a really, really good third. We showed up against France. We showed up against Ireland. And leading into the World Cup, where we've also got Ireland in our group, along with South Africa. We're going to need to turn up. And the fact that it seems to be coming good is nice to see.
Yeah.
I've had my doubts about Tooney.
Yeah. Well, we'll get on to Tooney at the end of this as well. So God. Yeah, we'll go through there, but that's right. Fine. So again, would agree. I think that was the best. We were chatting beforehand, which was like, realistically, Scotland are looking at somewhere between 1 and 3 wins.
Yeah.
An absolute disaster class was 1, 2 was poor but acceptable, and 3 was realistically as good as it was going to get.
Yeah.
The England game was brilliant. I thought they played really well in that game.
Yeah.
And
I felt like we caught England at a good time though as well. Their first game with Steve Borthwick in charge.
Yeah.
They got better as the tournament went along.
Apart from France.
World number 2 side. Give them a...
Yeah.
But they got better as the tournament went along. Very much so. And
I don't think England know where they are, but this is a totally separate conversation.
No, it is.
Yeah.
It is. But yeah, we caught them at the right time. I think if it was the reverse and that we had them last, it would have been a much more difficult game.
I actually disagree because I thought they still had a lot of the Eddie Jones stuff. So they effectively were playing an Eddie Jones team managed by Steve Borthwick.
Yes.
By the end, they got themselves so confused with, is it Smith at 10, is it Farrell at 10, is it Smith and Farrell at 10 and 12, that they'd kind of gone almost backwards, while other areas, like the actual style went well.
Yeah.
I thought the decision makers, they've been a little bit all over the place. But I thought the England game, we played really, really well.
Yes.
Again, Smith showed he was really good. The tries England scored were good and they worked it well, but when I do have the amount of tries, the try will remember forever. I've managed to get it in every single video I've had. Have you noticed?
Yeah, I sat and watched that game with my daughter and scared the life of a poor 2-year-old girl. When Duhan van der Merwe run that in.
We were at a friend's party and the noises escalated from like, ooh, to ooh. And then they got right to the top and it was just only dogs were screeching. But yes, that was brilliant. The Wales game, I actually thought we were poor in the first half. I don't think we turned up brilliantly. And then when we did turn up the heat, you could clearly tell during the Wales game, if I remember correctly, it was we were put in the first 10 minutes, we scored a couple of tries, and then a yellow card happens for Turner,
Yes.
and we fall apart. And I thought that's actually an area Scotland needs to have a look at, as we are, a lot of the Six Nations teams, they're not great when they go down a man, obviously, but it's not an absolute nightmare, whereas Scotland really seem to. I'd be interested to see if there's a statistic about how Scotland performed down to 14 men, because I think we tend to collapse.
Yeah.
But in the second half, we were just.
But you look at as well our cards from that Six Nation. Who did we have? Turner got carded.
Gilchrist
got carded.
Who was the other one? Should be another one.
I can't remember. But if we look at them two specifically, they are two of the biggest, along with the likes of Matt Fagerson. Turner has always put his body on the line for tackles. Gilchrist is a defensive mastermind when it comes to setting up that front group of 8 around the breakdown. And he's obviously our vice captain. Like, they were big cards to lose. And in that Wales game with Turner as well, they had just started to gain momentum. Then he gets carded, and the momentum continues to come. It's a curious thought, I think.
But they were brilliant in the second half, and Wales fell apart. I think that was the game that I thought Finn Russell was at his absolute best. I thought he was touch and go on England. He had some good bits, he had some bad bits. But I thought the game against England, against Wales, he was brilliant. I mean, that's 2 from 2. And then you're going into the France game going, right, where, like, this is basically a case of you, like, don't get excited, but if you're ever, like, Scotland fans, we haven't had a lot to cheat about.
No.
But this was the bit we were like, right there. Now, I actually disagree with you. I think this game was lost in 20 minutes because we had 19-0 down after 20 minutes, and you're not getting 19 points back in France. We had the chance. We worked our way back in. So I think what happened was France were utterly incredible. It was France that did this, right? But we're 19-0 down. We've got a red card. Thankfully, Hawass is an idiot and kept us back in the game. But you are looking down the barrel at 50 points.
Yeah.
And then they start to bring it back in. You get them panic, and then France turn it up at the end. And Scotland's bench is an area of if Scotland, everybody's fit, it's a good bench. The second we start to have a couple of injuries, particularly up front, it's a problem. And the big concern for me in the France game at the end and the Ireland game and even the Italy game was the way the set piece fell apart after we lost Gilchrist and then Johnny Gray. Then Richie Gray. Because the line-out went to hell and the scrum was mixed. But the plays, the play is phenomenal. Like, the back play is incredible and that back play is ridiculous. But the Ireland game, we were in it for 40 minutes and at the stadium you were like, right, because I was at all the home games.
Yeah.
And at the Ireland game you were like, we're in this.
Was that the general mood around the stadium?
No, the general mood around the stadium was it had been fairly poor all round, but the mood was we were in the game.
Yeah.
Like, it wasn't like we were going, right, we've got them. We're like, we are in this.
Because we obviously went into that, what was it, 8-7 up?
Yeah, they scored right at the end and we missed. Because that was the thing. It was the staying chance right at the end. People were like, right, okay.
Yeah.
It's like, we've got this. And it just... Cian Healy with one of the performances along with Josh Van der Fleer. Again, we'll get onto the Irish performances when we get to that. But I think that was probably the most disappointing bit. Was the second half in Ireland. Was just the way that, again, the forwards. Well, we'll come on to this when I chat about my opinions on that. And the Italy game showed how much we miss Finn Russell. So we both agree Kinghorn is a phenomenal player.
Yes. And
Scotland need to find a way to get him into that team.
Yes.
He's not 10.
No.
Because he scored a hat-trick of unbelievable moments. Like, he did that. It wasn't a team thing, which look at all of Scotland's other tries. It's a team thing.
Yeah.
And it was just Kinghorn being brilliant. And then systemically, Scotland weren't going through the phases as well. We weren't getting the same. You didn't feel like we could score at any opportunity, whereas when we had Finn at 10, Huey Pilotu in the centres, you were like, anything's possible. And I think that was a really noticeable thing when we had Kinghorn at 10. But he is our third choice 10. I thought Ben Healy was good when he came on.
Yeah.
I got a lot of grief. I said he was a month. So I'm going to get it wrong again. Like an Ulster Munster.
I'm not going to choose.
No. But yeah, so he came on. I thought he was good. And we missed Hastings at that stage.
Yeah.
But obviously Hastings, I hope Hastings is fit for the World Cup, because ultimately I think if you look at that bench, you have, if we assume Ben White starting, you go Price on the bench or Horn.
Yeah.
Right? And then you have Hastings to cover 10 and 12.
Yeah.
And then Kinghorn covers 10, wing and fullback.
Where are you putting Chris Harris?
You're not.
That's a lion.
I know, but this is another point of when we get to kind of like, right, what can Scotland do to improve? The Lions have not been great.
No.
If you actually sit and think about it, like our Lions, Suz has been injured.
Yeah.
And he's not playing the way he was 2 years ago.
No.
Right? It's not he's not playing badly, but he's not playing the way he was 2 years ago.
No.
Mish has been injured.
Yeah.
And is not playing near the way he was when he was playing the tournament.
No.
That's a ridiculous standard, but he's not. And we need that if we're going to beat South Africa and Ireland.
Yeah.
Hoggy, try not to cry.
He's getting old.
The thing is, right, he's still playing well. But it's very stock standard stuff. Like he's doing the fullback stuff, but he's got a huge boot. He's actually pretty solid under the high ball.
Mm-hmm.
Good in defence. You don't get the magic the way we used to get the magic.
No.
But he's not that player anymore.
Yeah.
And again, we'll come on to Hoggy later. But that's another one of our Lions. And then Finn is the only other one because Price isn't in the team.
No.
Price has been dropped. So who else have we got? Like our other Lions are from previous tours, and Rich Gay was great while he was fit.
Yeah.
So you're looking at the big boys.
They've not turned up.
They've not turned up, and Harris isn't in the team. And again, Harris has been brilliant, but the problem is Harris is individually great, but we lacked something in attack.
Did you ever think at the autumn we would be dropping Chris Harris, not only to the bench?
Well, the thing is, you always look at that, right? And you go, right, if we drop Harris, he's not the bench player.
No.
So it's basically a case of you either start Harris or he's. I mean, obviously he tends to not be in the team then if everybody's fit.
Yeah.
And that's not a case of going, I don't think he's good enough to be in the 23. You've got a choice of going, he either starts, and if he is not starting, which he isn't at the minute, he just doesn't get in the 23. It's if you're a back, there's less room for error than if you're a forward.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
it's just true. That. My thoughts, again, it was the best Scotland could do the Six Nations, and it's probably the best. That's probably the second best Six Nations I can remember Scotland having.
If we were to go any further than third, it would have taken a real implosion by either Ireland or France.
That's a freak result.
Yeah, it would have taken a freak result. That's exactly it. If everything went the way that we expected it to, which is what it was, we finished.
That's what happened with Six Nations.
Yeah.
So only one underdog won the game. So if you look at the official rankings, the person who was highest up in the ranking won every single game, apart from the Scotland-England game when Scotland won anything at the time.
Yeah.
So like it was one of those Six Nations where a lot of it was by what you expected.
Yeah.
But the rugby was amazing. I thought the rugby was phenomenal. Rugby at the minute is really, really good.
Yeah.
And I'm glad the Netflix things are there for the two-hand try.
Were they at Murrayfield?
Well, they will be, yeah, because it was the big game of the first weekend, wasn't it? So they'll be there.
Oh, I'm so looking forward to that.
That'll be so good. So so overall with Scotland, I thought it's as optimistic as we're going to be going into the World Cup. I'm looking forward to the summer test to see what they do with it.
Yeah.
Hoggy can I like this stat. Hoggy can theoretically break Ross Ford's record, provided we win the World Cup.
Or make the final.
Yeah, if we make the final. If we make the final or play the third, fourth place game, Hoggy breaks Ross Ford's record.
Wow.
So there you go. I don't see it happening, but we can dream.
We can dream.
Right. So how optimistic are you going into the World Cup?
Not very.
Not very.
The problem is that we look at our group and who have we got? We've got Ireland, South Africa, Tonga,
and Romania.
Right. Romania.
We should beat. Hopefully.
Everybody should beat.
Yep.
Tonga. How many All Blacks are going to be playing?
All Blacks and Australians and
all those islands.
But the upside, we should beat that Tonga team based on the fact that that's the tournament that they all come back.
Yeah.
So
they haven't played.
They haven't played together. So we should be beating Tonga, but that's now a much harder game than it would have been.
We've always struggled against teams with very big packs and people who love to run a cash ball. And who loves to run a cash ball more than the Irish and the South Africans?
So who's better at running it? Like it's not a touch and go; it's magic stuff. And
yeah,
I think the thing is, like you said, Scotland have, in my opinion, one of the best backlines in the world. Like, I don't think it's unfair to say that attacking-wise. I'm not saying it's the best backline.
No, it's not.
But it is one of the best. Yeah. I think Finn Russell is in the conversation for the best 10 in the world.
Yeah,
we'll die on that hill. Hugh Pilotu, so Tui Pilotu and Hugh Jones were unbelievable and made the Six Nations team of the tournament together. Duhan van der Merwe, for all he has his problems in defence, is the best attacking winger in terms of metres made and people beaten.
Yeah.
But the numbers are ridiculous, and he's going to break Hogg's record for most tries. He's on 17 and 28.
Yeah.
And Hogs,
gonna do it.
he's got like 10 left. It's absolutely nuts. Kyle Stein was awesome. Brilliant all Six Nations. But we've got Darcy Graham's back in that Edinburgh team. Darcy was the second best winger in the world last year.
Yeah, he
Like,
was.
he has to come back.
He
into
was.
that
I feel
team.
really bad for Kyle Stein because he's done
He's brilliant.
everything that he can.
You literally
to
could
keep
not
that
have done
jersey.
more.
Yeah.
You could not have done more. But how Darcy now performs for Edinburgh and how Edinburgh do in the Champions Cup and the rest of the URC will be huge. But I think Darcy comes back
Edinburgh are not great in the URC just now. Not the conversation for now.
but they've not been great.
Very
And
curious
we're
to
then
see.
looking at the fact that we've got Hoggy, Kinghorn, and Ollie Smith, who was really good when he came on, and was really good against Australia.
Yeah.
And so we've now got that's a really exciting, and Scotland have been dog shit to watch for years, like up to 2015, from 2000. So basically, we were born in the early 90s.
Yes.
So we grew up through watching rugby from the 2000s, early 2000s. It was horrible to watch. We scored an average 6 tries of Six Nations. You can tell I'm starting to write a script for things, actually, know these things, right? 6 tries of Six Nations. We got 18 or 17 or 18 in the last one. So it was 3 years worth of tries.
Yeah.
In one Six Nations with this backline. Scotland's problem is the forward pack. And it's not a problem in that they're terrible. They are all, a couple aside, solid.
See, for me, it's not the starting forward pack.
There's a bigger problem on the bench, but in general, Scotland's forward pack. So put it this way, again. So we'll get to the team of the tournament, right? A lot of backs in discussion for that.
Yeah.
Not a lot of forwards in discussion for that.
No.
And that's the problem. We don't have those world class forwards. We have a couple. I think that you can make that case for. One of them's, like we said, Hamish Watson was world class. Don't think he's playing that at the minute, but we need that. And the problem we then have is once you get teams like Ireland who are great, like not just individual players, but like as a system, they're brilliant. France, if you go back to the first, and I've watched the first 20 minutes of that Scotland game umpteen times.
Yeah.
They were just running through us. Like it's just that easy forward ball.
Yeah.
And even against Italy were getting pretty comfortable ball when they were running through the phases, and it was just when we panicked. That was the issue. And we have a really good system, and Tandy is one of the best coaches. We had the second best defence in that Six Nations. Granted, Ireland's was the best by quite a distance.
Yes.
Right? But we had the second best defence, and it's very much around the basis of it's like a willow branch where it gives but doesn't break consistently. But what that does is it means that you can generate that quick ball if you've got the forwards to do it. And I think that is what's going to ultimately cost us. Is this was a boxing match. We always talk about boxing, styles make fights. Rugby, it's not a dissimilar thing.
Yeah.
We have a better chance of, I'm not saying it would happen, we have a better chance of beating New Zealand and Australia than we do Ireland and South Africa just because of the way they play.
Yes.
I think that's what it is.
I agree. I think if we're going to beat one of the two of them, we're beating South Africa.
Do you reckon?
If I was to put my money on who we're more likely to beat,
you reckon it's South Africa?
it's South Africa.
Because I have to deal with the comments and you don't, I'm not giving an opinion on that.
Oh, no. But I was at the South Africa-England game, Eddie Jones's last game. And as much as South Africa were dominant against England, they were dominant against a very poor England. And actually, when you sat there and watched it happening,
that England forward pack is not the pack it was.
No, but there was nothing world class about that SAFA pack, about that whole 1 to 23. There was nothing that was the last World Cup winning team.
But that they pulled it out of nowhere. Remember how bad South Africa were beforehand?
Very true.
And then, I mean, Esabeth, I think, is one of the best second rows I've ever seen. So I saw him the last time Scotland played South Africa, and him and Kitsoff were just unbelievable.
He is a brilliant.
He's so good.
And he's a proper enforcer. He's a terrifying.
Well, he's the one, he's players like that kill us.
Yeah.
And Tadhg Furlong. God, I love Tadhg Furlong.
He's just a shit star.
He's fucking, but well, that's on Manny. Manny's a shit star.
Stars.
But yeah, so I thought, I'm still not optimistic going into the World Cup.
No.
But I am happy with the state of where Scotland is.
Yes.
So I'm going to put to you, which is the comment I get in every single Scotland video. What do you think of the under-20s and the general comments around Scotland bringing in foreign players?
So the under-20s, let's start there. Yeah.
It's bad.
It's not great.
Thankfully, Welsh rugby is in such dire states. Like, not thankfully because it's awful. Like, it's awful what's going on there, right? But it is Welsh rugby at the minute is doing a great job of hiding the faults
of all Northern Hemisphere teams.
Well, it's not even all Northern Hemisphere. Ireland are great.
Yeah.
Right. The Irish under-20s are phenomenal. The French under-20s are excellent. The Italians under-20s are really good.
Mm-hmm.
The English team are not where they used to be, considering the amount of money that's in there.
Yes.
The Welsh system is an absolute shit show, and thankfully is getting fixed. I think there's bigger problems than the age grade stuff in Wales. But you look at that Scotland team; they got pumped. They're just not. They are not. The current system is not preparing them adequately for that level of rugby.
And whose head do you put that on?
Dodson.
Okay.
It's the CEO. Because
Okay.
he's part of the infrastructure.
I don't disagree,
Yeah.
and might be a conversation for somewhere else. I'm going to say something here. Townsend.
That's got nothing to do with him.
He's the
job
head coach.
of the senior team.
Yeah, still the head coach. You're trying to tell me that he doesn't have any responsibility.
Yeah.
And exactly what happens in all the way through Scottish rugby.
Because his job is the head coach of Scotland, and that the way that Scotland works. Because your argument could then be applied to, well, is he not then partially responsible for Edinburgh and Glasgow? Because the SRU own all of it, and they're all feeder things for Scotland. So it's Dodson. It's Dodson and the board, and they've got to decide where it is, because ultimately the distribution of money and how it's organised for the Super Six, how all that's organised, and the fact that you're like, is it fit for purpose in terms of getting the age grade boys ready for what it is?
They're not ready.
They're not ready, and it's not good enough. And it's a case of how many of those age grade boys are coming through for Scotland at the minute.
None of them.
Well, the last one was Darge.
Yeah.
I mean, Darge has been incredible, and it's a shame he was injured for the Six
But
Nations.
they're relying on freaks of nature. Darge, when you look at him, is a whole-rounded athlete before he's a rugby player.
They're not developing through that system. What's happening is they're getting into the Edinburgh, Glasgow teams and developing that way.
Yes.
Which is good, but that's a really finite amount of places.
Yes.
That's 2 teams. That's 30 positions for you to do. And it's not enough.
No.
But we'll be here all day on that front. But I just wanted to. And the imports, probably the nicest way of putting it.
I don't like it. We're within the rules. And I understand why we're doing it. It's because if we don't do it, everyone else is going to do it.
Yeah, that's my view. I actually have no problem with it whatsoever, because I think everybody is doing it, and I think it's highlighted more in other places than it is in others.
But I don't like it. It should be, and I understand that throughout this video, one of the people that we're going to gush over is Sione Tuipulotu.
Yeah.
And his brother, who might be joining the Scotland. Who might be joining the Scotland fold as well. Something about it doesn't sit right. I understand that the grandparents are Scottish.
Is that where that was from?
I'm sure Tuipulotu was his grandmother.
Okay. A really fun conversation about nationalism in a minute, so we look forward to.
No. I just don't like it. There's something about homegrown talent. And I understand.
What's homegrown?
Homegrown.
I should have prepared you for this, apologies.
You probably should have. But we look at Tuipulotu and he learned his trade in Australia. We look at even W.P. Nell and Duan van der Merwe.
Schoeman.
And Schoeman.
But Steyn came through Glasgow.
But the three of them were playing South Africa 18, all the way up to Safa A's. And then somehow, whether that be through a load of money, whether that be through right place, right time, are now suddenly playing for Scotland.
Well, it's because they've not made it in that team. And then Scotland have gone through that. Well, because the Van der Merwe one's pretty, like, he didn't make it in there. He went to Montpellier in France, and Edinburgh picked him up, and it's been the development thing. Now, I have a totally different opinion on this. So I have absolutely no problem with any of it, because rules are the rules, and I think nationalism now more than ever in the world we live in, it's not where you're born, like that you call home. I think that's the ultimate thing, and then if people are here, it's wherever. Like you can look at every single major team in the world, and I'm not going to start picking and choosing. There's multiple. There are more in Scotland, right?
Yes.
But what that says to me is there's not enough money going into the age grade stuff. But they're having to do this. But I think in a country like Scotland, it is prudent to make the absolute most of the system.
Oh, I don't disagree with making the most of the system. It means that we don't start crying when we look at our rugby team.
Yeah, I'll put it this way. I'm quite happy to watch Pierre Schoeman and Duan van der Merwe and Tuipulotu and get the Six Nations we had, then go back to 2012 when we got the wooden spoon.
Yeah.
I'm quite happy to do that. But I understand the point that everyone's making. I don't care. it's just one of those opinions where I'm like, right, nationalism is a very different thing. It's a very hot topic at the minute.
Yeah, it is.
But it's a case of who's willing to play for Scotland, but what you cannot do is prioritise, and this is my problem, is you cannot prioritise the imports above the age grade boys. So my issue is not with Sonny Tuipulotu playing for Scotland. It's not with Duhan van der Merwe coming over to Edinburgh, making a life for himself in Edinburgh, which he did. The same as Pierre Schoeman. The problem is we might be bringing in somebody for 250 grand when that 250 grand should be put into the age grade.
Yeah.
That's roughly where my opinion is.
Yeah. Fair.
Yeah.
I agree with that.
But yeah, and I think that's the stuff, because you look at that, it's like the Italy, oh my God, man. The Italy boys, they're really good. And then Gessie, who was on the wing, he's going to be good. And that's like before you've got the rest of them. They're all young and fit. And Scotland boys are all in around their prime. There needs to be more coming through.
And that's my fear, is that we've had a good Six Nations this year.
I think it's 5 years' time. It's not now. No, I don't think it's this World Cup cycle. It's not the next World Cup cycle. But yeah, I said that at like the 2015. And it was like, and then we've still got the guys that are still playing almost at the peak of their powers. But I think a lot of them they're there. Yeah. A lot of the big names.
The drop is coming soon.
But I don't know if it'll be a drop, because I really do think, again, Hogg for Kinghorn.
Yeah.
I don't think Kinghorn will ever reach what Stuart Hogg was in 2016.
No.
But he's a player.
But in terms of being a really solid fullback, he's exactly what we need.
I think he's more than solid.
Yeah.
He's very special. I just think Stuart Hogg is the best player I've seen play live for Scotland. Like when he played New Zealand, we've never had a player like that.
Yeah.
And then when you've got Darge coming in for Watson, and you've got Fagerson's mid-20s, Richie's mid-20s, Darge early 20s.
Yeah.
Makes me feel very old, but it's a separate issue. Right. So, you want to know this? This man hates Tooney.
I do.
Right?
I don't hate him as a person.
No, God, yeah. Like, this is an...
I would see him in the street and shake his hand.
But you have your opinion. In the same way I have my opinions about Owen Farrell. Yeah. Not as a human being, just as a rugby
player. I really like Owen Farrell.
Yeah,
he's also hilarious.
Yeah.
But I don't think we've had a great tournament, and that tournament is because of Gregor Townsend and his team, don't get me wrong, but we've had so many years where we've not lived up to expectations.
But if you look at the stats, Scotland's last 4 Six Nations, 3 of them have been the 3 best Six Nations they've had in Pro era.
But is that down to Tooney or down to
the players?
Purely down to the players and what they've been doing at Edinburgh and Glasgow. Edinburgh and Glasgow have also had very, very good.
But Edinburgh and Glasgow peaked in 2015.
I still think they've been really solid, though. They've been working all their way through all that time, all that effort, building these players who are going into the national team.
So you're going to take no credit?
No, I'm not. I'm not. I just don't think that. I think he could have done a much better job.
He could have done a better job, but of course they could.
Especially in the years between World Cups. So 2019 World Cup.
Yeah, we were awful.
We were fucking atrocious.
We were terrible.
2015 World Cup under Van Cotter.
We were good.
We were brilliant.
But we came last in the Six Nations.
But we were brilliant in the World Cup, and that's what matters. You're going to watch how I'm going to change this for my story here.
I'm watching the spin here,
But the 2019 World Cup under Tooney, I thought that we were just disappointing. And then the Six Nations between then and now, I know that they've been the best ones that we've had. But we've also just had the conversation about the players that have been coming in at that point, who have not been Scottish growth. I know, I understand a lot of our team have been, but you're talking about, as we've just said, your Van der Merwes, your Staines, your WP Nels, your...
Xander's been starting. Xander's been starting over Nell.
Who looks like one of the coaching team.
He does, it's quite funny. Finn has been at the peak of his powers.
Yes.
And my biggest problem with Tooney is I was going to get along with Finn. Right? Now, that is a two-way problem in terms of how Finn's behaved and how Tooney's managed him, right? But that relationship has to work because Finn is so important. Like, the difference is night and day. Having Finn in that team, right? But the best Six Nations we've had, there's no coincidence that the fact that last year's Six Nations, we didn't play Finn. But every other Six Nations, we've had the highest amount of tries, the best defence, and the best results Scotland have had. If you look at our rankings, after 2015, they're up here, and it was a low of 12, and now we're up at the highest it's been, and it's because of that team. And Tooney, I think, has done a good job of slowly improving the team in different areas. Like, he's the one, because he's behind a lot of it as well, as of the board, who've got Jones back up to Glasgow, and they're playing with Tori Pelotu, and now you've got this partnership developing.
Mm-hmm.
They're the one that have developed this front row, where you've got Turner and Fagerson because if at one stage it was Sutherland, Turner, Fagerson, and that was the Glasgow front row. So that's the work that he's done. Scotland are generally playing better rugby than they've played in the past. This Six Nations was great 2 years ago. Yeah, the most frustrating thing in all of this, right, is the best Scotland played was in COVID, and there was nobody there. It just drives me absolutely mad.
Yeah.
But like three at the last 4 Six Nations have been the best you and I have lived through that we can remember.
I just don't think it's done at Townsend.
But you've got to give him some credit for making.
I'll give him some, but
so World Cup done, right? So we will assume, because if Scotland get through to the knockout stages, you know he's getting a new contract.
Yeah.
Right. We'll assume Scotland ignominiously go out at the group stage.
Yeah.
Right. They play well enough. They don't disgrace themselves. They play fine. Is he getting another contract?
Probably.
Are you giving him another contract?
No.
Who are you giving? Who are you getting him?
I don't know yet.
I haven't got that far.
Because I would have really in an ideal world,
Are you going to say Razor?
I was going to say Razor.
Yeah.
But obviously he's going to be the new All Blacks coach.
Of course, and he wasn't coming to Scotland. The Blues coach might be. That's interesting. I've seen those interviews. He refused to comment on it. Dave Rennie?
No, I wouldn't give it to Dave Rennie.
So who are you going for?
I don't know. What about Erasmus? Just for.
You're playing FIFA in this.
Yeah, banter.
Yeah.
To come and see what he says about Northern Hemisphere rugby and Northern Hemisphere referees.
I'd hate to have him for Scotland.
Oh, he would be an absolute bomb site.
Oh, I'd hate to have
He's a
him.
brilliant coach.
Yeah, I just don't. I hate the stuff online. I hate the videos so much. It's so lazy to moan about the referees because there's clearly stuff. So we're going to talk at some stage about the players, and we're going to come to Freddie Stewart and the stuff, and it's lazy to be like the referee buggered at me, like what put them in. Don't give them a chance to get it wrong.
Yeah.
Anyway, so yeah, I would give him a new contract provided him and Finn Russell continued their couples council
I would
together.
put that as a clause in his contract.
Like you guys
and
have to
in
go.
Finn's contract as well.
Yeah,
I wholeheartedly
the
understand
£1 million he's getting paid for Bath.
Well, yeah. I wholeheartedly wouldn't say by any stretch of the imagination that the fallout between Gregor and Finn was because of Townsend.
No, I think
it was both of them. They both,
but
let's be honest, they both hate each other.
Oh yeah, but I think it was Finn was the majority of that.
And Gregor Townsend just had to put his foot down. And I understand why he did it, because
you can't have someone being a law unto himself. It just doesn't work in a team environment.
No. And when you consider who he was dragging down with him as well, he was taking. And I understand it was Ali Price's 50th cap, and it
was 50th cap, and that they went out, and then that's how Holly went away. I think Tui Pelotu went out as well. And it was just
it was a mess.
But that happens, and we're a nation of deep alcoholics, so we have to play into the stereotype at some stage.
No,
right, World Cup. Who's your 15 that you're starting in France, provided everyone's fit?
So providing everyone's
fit. 23, we'll go 23 because we both are nerds and we both have our 23s. Who are you providing absolutely everyone is fit and available for Scotland?
Right, so Schoeman, 1 Schoeman, 2 Turner, 3 Xander Fagerson.
I would agree.
4, I'm putting 4 and 5. I'm putting Grant Gilchrist.
Agreed.
And one of the Gray brothers.
I'm going Richie if he's fit.
Yeah.
Because the line out was so. When Richie Gray and Grant Gilchrist were together, the line out was fantastic.
Yes.
And we really noticed it.
6.
Yep. So this is the interesting bit. So obviously Dempsey came at the end of the Six Nations. He was brilliant off the bench, but Jack Dempsey was starting at 8. Matt went to 6 in the game against Ireland.
Mm-hmm.
Then he was dropped. Richie went back to 6, and Mish was in at 7.
See, I'd put Darge at 6.
Okay.
Richie at 7. Matt Fagerson at 8.
So I would agree, but switch.
Okay.
Darge is open, Richie's blind.
Fair.
So I think Darge is the. It doesn't make a difference actually where they stand, but that's I would.
I understand how different
Yeah.
those positions
Yeah,
are.
those
but
positions are different, but if you've got the same guys on the pitch, they will do the same things.
Yeah.
Fine. So we totally agree on the pack.
9,
Yeah.
Ben White.
Ben White. Yep.
10, Finn.
Yep.
12 and 13, you have to go Hugh Pelotton.
Agreed.
14, or let's go 11. It's an obvious choice.
Duhan, yeah.
Duhan van der Merwe.
Yeah.
14. I'm going to, for the start of the World Cup.
Start of the World
First
Cup.
game.
First game. Day
Who's
one.
our first game against?
No idea. We should know this. It doesn't matter.
I'm giving Darcy a shot, but it's the one shot he's getting. And if he, by any stretch of the imagination, doesn't perform to what he's expected to perform by, I'm putting Kyle Steyn in for the second.
I would Darcy Graham.
Yeah.
Darcy Graham was brilliant. For last year, Darcy Graham was one of the most exciting players I've ever seen in my life.
He's been brilliant.
He was phenomenal. So yeah, to Darcy, Holgate fullback.
Holgate fullback.
Cool. Bench.
So 16, I'm probably putting.
Okay. He hates his numbers. So,
I do.
So when he texts me his teams, he always puts the loose head at 16. It drives me absolutely insane. I think he does it on purpose at this
I
stage.
do sometimes. So 16, I'm putting McNally.
Ashwin.
I'm putting McNally for an old head. And I'll get back to why not Ashman. And actually, I'll go for it now. Ashman, no, because of how wrong that line out went. Was it France or was it Ireland?
The overthrow.
Yeah.
That was Ireland. That
On
was Fraser,
halfway.
That was Fraser Brown.
Okay. But I still wouldn't choose Ashman. I'd still choose McNally for just another old head.
In the
bit
pack.
of sense and sensibility in the pack.
I thought Fraser Brown didn't have his best Six Nations coming off the bench, and I thought Ashwin was better, more dynamic coming off the bench. Plus, he scored a great try against Australia.
17, I'm going Sutherland.
Yeah, it has to be Sutherland because Batty's actually been really good in general off the bench, but they had a nightmare against Ireland.
And then 18, I'm going Nell.
It has to be now because Bergen had a mate against Ireland, and the other one is I can't remember his name. I know exactly the guy that's going to Edinburgh from the Scarlets.
No, I'm not.
Anyway, he's your other option, but he'll be third choice.
I'm going Nell.
Now, yep.
Again, it's another old head. That's a front row of three who
could start
if it happens. They could start, but you're 60. Let's put it. You're 60 minutes in and 7 points up against South Africa, and they've just brought on the bomb squad.
Yeah,
you're going to want a bit. They're not going to be as explosive as potentially,
but you need solid.
But they're going to be solid. They're going to be consistent.
What you can't do is milk penalties.
Yeah,
or leak penalties. Second row.
The other Gray brother, so Johnny Gray. I don't know who would be my other.
It would be Dempsey. Because Dempsey was brilliant coming off the bench.
Yeah.
Which means no Hamish Watson. Unless are you going for 6?
No. Would.
Because you kind of have.
The problem is that Hamish Watson and Rory Darge do very similar jobs.
Hamish Watson, at his best, is Scotland's best forward.
Yeah.
But he hasn't been at his best recently. Hamish Watson has the most experience.
Yeah.
If Hamish Watson gets to the form we know he can get to, or even close to the form, he has to start. But I suppose we're saying that, and Darge has been injured, so we have no idea.
Yeah. He's just come back, hasn't he?
So really, we're both talking nonsense. I'm going to assume that Darge comes back and plays the way he did the last Six Nations, and Mish plays about the same. In that scenario, I'm starting Darge. If Watson improves to the point where he's back near his best, it has to be Mish. But in the scenario where he's not at that best, it's Dempsey on the bench because Dempsey was brilliant coming off.
Yeah.
Who's just going to have?
See, I'm very stuck now.
Well, I know your opinions on these some halves.
It could be George Horn.
Yeah.
I could easily make an argument for Ali Price.
Yeah.
I personally really like Ali Price, and so we'll probably pick him just on the basis that again, I'm going for that bit of sense and sensibility. The problem is that if we're 7 points down against South Africa
You
after
want
60
Horne.
minutes, you're going to want George Horne.
Ali Price was excellent when he came off the bench against Italy.
I was going to say that.
He was excellent when he came off the bench against Italy, and that's the kind of Ali Price keeps playing like that. He's a conversation to start. I think the shirt's now white,
Yes.
but Ali Price had a poor autumn, but he was excellent against
I
Italy.
missed the Ali Price that took over from Greg Laidlaw.
I miss Greg Laidlaw.
And that's a fair point, but I think
Yeah.
Ali Price has moved on. His game has changed so much. He used to be what George Horne is just
Is
now.
now, yeah.
That plucky little,
But he did it. It was
Yeah, he did
there.
it against
It's
Italy.
there.
that plucky little scrum half who was just picking and going left, right, and
He
centre.
was a threat.
Yeah,
Hastings and Kinghorn.
Kinghorn.
I'm saying Hastings and
Oh,
Hastings and Kinghorn.
So if I was to pick one or the other, I'm picking
Kinghorn
Kinghorn.
Yeah.
But yeah, Hastings
as your backup 10
is your backup 10. Kinghorn is your backup 15.
and wing.
And wing.
Well, so basically, if
I
you've done
would,
that,
I would,
because you're out of players now, because you've got 5 forwards,
yeah.
Price is 6, so you have 2 backs left.
Oh, come on, give me 3.
That's not how rugby works.
Yeah, it'd be Kinghorn and Hastings.
But yeah, I think that's the best one to go with.
Yeah.
And provided Hastings is fit. That's I think is
And then
Scotland's best. Yeah.
But then depending on the game, you're going to flick it between. You're going to want to bring in a bit of speed. I'd personally quite
Yeah.
like to see Kyle Stein.
But you've got it's McDowell at Glasgow. He's been brilliant in the centres. Obviously, you've got Harris. You've got Stein was phenomenal throughout the Six Nations.
Yeah.
Ollie Smith's been really good. Scotland actually have options in the backs, which is amazing. But it's up front. Up front's the problem, and it has been the problem. But overall, this is the best Scotland has been in a while. This is the best Glasgow have been in a while.
Yeah.
Edinburgh need to get their act together because they've got great players.
Hopefully, in the coming URC games, they do that.
It's the Challenge Cup this weekend. They've got the full boys out.
They're going full noise.
Full noise out
Oh.
in the knockouts.
Okay.
But with Blair not staying, because Blair's not enjoying being the coach, they'll get somebody back. They'll get someone else in. So we'll wait and see. Anyway, next team of the tournament.
Right. I've got mine on my phone.
And I have mine because I'm old on a bit late. Right.
Do you want to go first?
No, because you spent yours on the train.
Okay, so I've gone 1 through 23.
Okay, I've gone 1 through 15, and we'll come up and pull the last. few
Right.
of my
Okay,
notes.
so 1, Andrew Porter.
Yep.
2, George Turner.
I have gone Marchand.
Okay. Fair enough. 3, Tag Furlong.
Yep. I've gone Beelum.
Fair. 4, Flamand.
Yep.
I don't even know if I'm saying that right.
That's fine. If we offend it, we apologise greatly.
Yeah. 5, Ryan.
Yep.
6, Josh van der Vloer.
I've gone. So this was the hardest bet by a million miles. Was the back row.
Yeah.
I've gone Oligon,
7, I've went Lamaro.
Lamoureux. I've went Josh van der Vloer.
And my argument for 6 and 7 is that they can both play 6.
Yeah. So basically, I was looking at it, and so for every position, when I'd done this in the week, I wrote down who's in contention, and for most of them, it was who played for France, who played for Scotland, and who played for Ireland, and generally who played for Ireland was the one that got it. But in the back row, I had so many players. I thought, and again, we'll get to each individual player of the tournament. I thought every single team had like an option. It's weird. Generally speaking, right, I think we are in an age of brilliant second rows in general, brilliant back row players, and we're lacking international, like elite world class centres. I don't think there's that many.
There isn't. Yeah.
Like in general in the Northern Hemisphere, it's not like where you had,
Like Brian O'Driscoll.
yeah, your Driscolls, there's tons of other people. I can't bother going through all of them, but like at their absolute peak.
The old school English centres as well.
Yeah, the old school English one too, Lange, when he was actually the player that the English media think he still is.
Yeah. Right, so 8, I've went Doris.
I've went Doris. It's
9,
horrible to follow through. We'll go through it again.
yeah.
Yeah,
9, there is no other option.
yeah. Ben White.
DuPont.
Dupont.
10, Finn.
Yep.
Russell. 12 and 13, I've went Huapaloto, so Hugh Jones, Sione Tuapaloto.
People will be shocked based on what you're wearing.
I know.
I haven't watched anything that I've done.
14, I've went Hansen.
Yeah.
Mac Hansen. 15, Ramos, and 11, James Lowe.
Okay, I've got two differences there. What's your bench?
So 16, I've went. You're going to hate me for this because I've put a.
You put it wrong,
16.
right?
Right, so I've went Marchand at 16, Schumann, and Finlay Bealham for my front row.
So go again. So Marchand,
Marchand,
Hooker, yep.
Pierre Schumann,
Pierce Schumann, yep.
and Finlay Bealham.
Okay, so I have the same apart from I've got Marchand starting and the Ireland hooker on the bench.
19, I've went Matt Fagerson.
You have Matt Fagerson playing second row.
I realised that, but that's because
yeah.
Paul Willemsen, who is a second row player.
Yeah, okay.
So let's swap the two of them about.
Yeah.
So 19, I said Willemsen, obviously.
Yeah, naturally.
20, I put Matt Fagerson. But I could easily make a
All
case for Willemsen starting at 8. Sorry, not Willemsen starting at 8. Fagerson starting at 8.
I thought Fagerson did brilliant Six Nations.
Yeah.
Brilliant Six Nations. He had a poor second half against Ireland and then was dropped for the Italy game. But I thought that was just on the basis of how good Dempsey was when he came on. So I have Skoo at loose head reserve.
Yeah.
I forgot the Irish guy's name. The hooker. Who have you starting?
I've got starting George Turner.
Not George Turner. Who's the Irish?
I cannot remember, but I know who you mean.
I'm really sorry, the name's gone. I just said it earlier. And at tight head, I had Furlong.
Okay.
Because tight head was a really hard one as well because I thought nobody had a great Six Nations because there was not very many were fit.
Yeah.
So the French tight head was injured immediately. Tadhg Furlong is the best tight head in the world.
Yeah.
And I love him dearly, despite the fact he keeps beating us. But he played 1.5 games.
Yeah.
So it's not enough to get you in the team. I thought Bealham was great for Ireland when he started. I was really good coming off the bench, so I thought he deserved it. Flamon and Ryan were the standout second rows. Willemse was your other kind of option. Ruza for Italy.
Yeah.
Was amazing in the lineup. Absolutely unbelievable. You can't pick Richie Gray because he was injured. You can't pick Grant Gilchrist, got himself sent off.
Yeah.
We're not picking Wales and England players. Let's be serious.
Second row.
This is the thing. Maro Itoje is an absolute nightmare. He's not the player he was.
No.
At the minute.
2019 Maro Itoje.
Yeah,
the single best second row in the world.
It was him and Etzebeth, and Etzebeth has kept it. Itoje is not the player he was. He's still really good, but again, he's not the player that he was. And then Audrey.
Okay, so who have you got as your last three? So your
backs. So scrum half, I have Ben White.
I have Ben White.
Ben White. Backup was Sexton.
Yeah. Johnny Sexton,
and then Hansen.
You had Hansen. I had Ringrose.
Yeah, so I have Sexton to go 10 and he can kind of play 12.
Yeah.
And then Hansen can play across the back. And I thought Hansen was the best player at Murrayfield when I saw him. He was unbelievable.
Yeah, which was now have a personal hatred towards the Thistle.
Yeah, the Thistle Scottish Rugby.
They caused that.
They caused that. Yeah. So for anyone that doesn't listen to, you should follow the Thistle Scottish Rugby podcast. They're awesome. But it's their fault that Mac Hansen is one of the best players in the world.
They cost him out twice.
Yeah.
And he showed up twice and
ruined it
for everybody.
So I have Porter, Marchand, Bealham in the front row.
Yeah.
Flamand, James Ryan as the second row. Olivon, Van der Fleer and Caelan Doris. Dupont at 9, Finn Russell at 10. Now Finn Russell again. So this was we were never not picking Finn Russell. I'm sorry if you're Irish and or French.
I have an argument for that.
Right, I think Finn Russell is the best 10 all round. We don't agree on who's the backup, but I think there is Finn Russell, there is Johnny Sexton, and there's Roman Intermac, and then there is absolutely everybody else in terms of performances in the Six Nations. They were all brilliant. They were 3 fabulous 10s.
They were.
I think the reason Intermac doesn't get the love he deserves is because of how good Dupont is, and it just blinds the near round because Intermac's incredible.
Yeah.
Sexton is so important to that Ireland team. You cannot overestimate how important that Ireland team is. Unbelievable because Sexton is so good at making that system work. Right, here's the thing with Sexton. Watch any Ireland game that he's not starting in. They're not as good.
So, I agree, Ireland are good because of Sexton. I personally don't think it's because Sexton is on the field. I think that it's because of the way that Sexton makes Ireland train, along with their coaching staff. I think he plays a massive part in the fine details of exactly what that attacking team should do.
And how it executes.
But part of me wonders, and it is purely a question at the moment, if they were to take another 10, and instead of having Johnny Sexton in training, in running those lines constantly.
He's been doing it for 10 years. That's why he's so good.
I know that what you're doing is replacing a log here, but instead of him, personally, I think that when Johnny Sexton retires, and he inevitably will at the end of the World Cup, that he steps in to the coaching team. I don't know where in the coaching team at the moment. I don't. Yeah, it might even be at Leinster, and then eventually step up into the Ireland setup. But I think he will
eventually the same thing at this stage.
But that'll be where we find out if it was Sexton playing that made Ireland good, or if it was his.
I think you can find out how good Sexton is.
Expectation and quality to what exactly he does in training.
There's such an incredible link. So that Ireland back three is unbelievable, right? The Irish centre pairing is phenomenal. The Irish pack. What's so important is the fact that the 9 and the 10 particularly connect all brilliantly.
Yes.
And I don't think Ireland win the World Cup without Sexton 10.
Okay.
I think Ireland have a real shot of winning this World Cup if Sexton stays fit.
I just think he's made of glass, unfortunately.
That is an overlooking piece of glass.
It is, but I think he constantly gets injured.
We had this disagreement as well, which was that Sexton, I don't think, didn't start a game, and Finn Russell didn't miss the game at 10 because he was injured.
Very true. But then also, how many times did Sexton have to be pulled off the pitch because he was hurt? Not because it was 60 minutes in and it was time for the 10 to come off.
What, in the last 2 games?
Yeah. And part of that, I think, is that they're asking a 10.
They're asking a lot.
A 37-year-old 10 to run crash ball.
I think he does that because he has to in that situation. It's the best option. If Sexton has crashed it up, there's been an issue in the play.
Okay. Fair.
Because I think Finn does that sometimes. Like, he just runs into it and you're like, something's gone wrong here. But I think that's what it is. Backline is obviously, so Dupont and Russell.
Yeah.
We want to see that in the Babas.
Yeah.
I've got to see that in the Babas. Centre, Huey Piloto. I think Fiku. I think Ringrose.
Fiku had a brilliant tournament.
Can feel really agree, but I think the way that Tui Piloto and Hugh Jones play together, just unbelievable.
Yeah.
And the back three of Lowe, Keenan, and my favourite, Peno. God, I love Damien Peno. I love batshit crazy French wingers.
Yeah.
So I adored Teddy Thomas, and when we beat France with Greg Laidlaw scoring, Thomas scored 2 tries out of absolutely nowhere, and he's just nuts because he just did weird things, and he could be bad, he could be good. Damien Peno is everything magical about Teddy Thomas, with none of the downside.
Okay.
Like he doesn't make stupid. So you had Ramos.
Yeah.
Ramos had an unbelievable Six Nations, but he did some mental things. Like, do you remember him throwing the ball back over his own try line?
Yes.
That's the stuff that Thomas would do. That's the mental stuff that Peno doesn't do that.
Mm.
So that was my lot. And then bench, Skoo, Ireland hooker, Furlong, Willemse, Aldry, and then Ben White, and backup was Sexton and Hansen, who was just very unlucky to miss out on my favourite non-Scotland player. Anyway, that was our Six Nations team of the tournament. Who's your player of the tournament?
Sexton.
Keenan. So wait, so hold on. You've picked your player of the tournament, not on the team.
He's on the bench. I know it doesn't make sense.
No, it makes no sense whatsoever.
My argument, and it's the same one that I've said there before, is that Ireland are nowhere near as good as they would be if it wasn't for Johnny Sexton. But I don't think that's because of his ability to play. I think that's because of his ability to hold standards and expectation in training.
Okay.
And so I think that what he's done as
It's
a
more
whole
systemic.
Six Nations, rather than just the 5 times 80 minutes, but the whole, what was it, 8 weeks, 6 weeks long?
Yeah, something like that. Well, it'll be 8.
Yeah,
5
8.
games and 2 titles.
Yeah. What he's achieved throughout that whole thing with Ireland. And then also there is the whole part of this was probably his last Six Nations.
Yeah. Because apparently that's been done for Leinster as well.
Yeah, he blew his knee.
Something's gone.
Yeah.
So I hope he's fit. I mean, the thing is, what you want for the World Cup is the best players. So
Yeah,
you
you want to see your Andre Pollards.
And
You
if
wanna see
Scotland
your
are going to go
Johnny
through,
Sexton.
I don't want to hear it's because they beat Ireland without Sexton, South Africa without Esabes or
Yeah.
Pollard or Cheslin Colby or stuff like that.
Yeah.
That's what I
Well,
want.
Colby's supposedly got a big injury.
I have heard that as well, but then they've got, is it Arce, the other winger?
Yeah.
Oh my God, what a player.
Mhm.
Anyway, best player for Ireland I thought was Keenan, but there was a ridiculous amount of people you could have had. Any of the back three,
Yeah.
Sexton, Ringrose, Caelan Doris. There was James Ryan, phenomenal. Porter.
So in terms of when I was choosing my player of each team, I deliberately pulled out Johnny Sexton because I'd already made him player of the tournament. That's just an obvious and easy choice. If I just said Johnny Sexton again, then we move on. Andrew Porter. That man is 130-ish.
Yep.
I don't know his official weight.
I think, I was going to say
a massive weighted prop and has the most delicate touch in the world. And we discussed it earlier on about that. Was it Hugo Keenan try?
Yeah, where he
Where-
pops it back in.
Takes the ball off 9 and just almost ballerina-esque, just turns and tips.
It's where rugby's
so,
going though. It's forwards doing back things.
so delicately, and I think he does it the best. As a forward doing back things, I think he does it the best.
Furlong does it the best.
I disagree. Anyway,
Scotland,
I put Finn.
I put Tui Pelotu.
Argument easy for both.
Yeah, I mean, I thought they were both brilliant.
Yeah.
Tui Pelotu is the one I got that wrong when I first watched him play for Scotland. I was like, I don't see it. I didn't see it, and he's grown, and he's got everything.
Yeah.
And he makes. The thing is, Finn Russell, in my opinion, is top 310 in the world. Tui Pelotu makes Finn even better because he's an actual option. He's a realistic crash ball option.
Yeah.
He's a realistic kicking option.
Yeah.
And he's a realistic playmaking option.
Yeah.
That's how good he is.
It's almost, I'm going to try not annoy your England fans here, but it's almost what England want with Smith and Farrell.
Smith and Farrell. I still think, and you know what England are going for, and I think it's the dual playmaker system, but it has to function with the forwards. England's problem is the forward pack. It's not the 10, in my opinion.
Yeah.
It's because you can't get the ball that they want to play the way they want with the pack they have. Anyway, speaking of England, who was your England player of the tournament? I thought it was 3.
Freddie Stewart.
Yeah, there was Stewart, Genge, or Ludlam.
Yeah.
I thought those were the 3 players that when I watched them,
I
was like,
originally wrote down Ludlam and then took him off and put Freddie Stewart, and then took Freddie Stewart off because he got red carded and put Ludlam again, and then thought, no, I disagree with the red cards.
Freddie Stewart is brilliant. Like he's phenomenal. I don't think he's the best fullback in the world because I think that's you need to prove that over an extended period of time.
I think he's currently the in-form fullback.
He's certainly one of the informed fullbacks, but I think Ludlam had a great tournament. I thought England were annihilated against France, so
Everyone played
poorly in that game. And Genge is really, really good in the loose. It's the scrum.
Genge is terrifying.
Genge is great, a great character, fabulous interview, and a phenomenal rugby player.
When you talk about characters for rugby and growing the sport,
so
it's people like
have
Genge.
you watched Turn on the Good and the Bad of Rugby?
Yes.
So good, and he makes such a point. Genge is a player to build rugby around, as is Finn, as was Hogg, as is a ton of other people. There are interesting people there. Italy, so this is a very interesting one.
I put Lamero.
I had Negri.
Fair.
I thought Negri was fantastic.
Yeah.
It was great against us. It was Fuschetti was really good. So Italy were a funny one. Italy were disappointing in the games they had a chance of winning,
Yeah,
and played well in the games they had no chance of winning.
they were my team of the tournament.
That was a strange decision.
Purely because growing up, what do you remember of Italian rugby?
What I remember is watching Scotland get beaten on a semi-inconsistent basis.
Ignore that. We've grown, but generally, generally, let's be honest.
Parisi.
Yeah. Apart from him, you're looking at an Italian or a Scotland wooden spoon.
Martin Castrucci. So that's love.
They sound like pizzas and pastas to me, all of them.
I'm sad now.
You think of that Italian team, and what do you think? Wooden spoon. And unfortunately, they got wooden spoon again this year. But I think this was the first year where there was conversations around effectively that Italy were favourites to not get that wooden spoon.
This was the first year where there was genuine money on Italy to not come last.
Yes.
It was funny because Italy were progressing. We had a nightmare few years through COVID. They were bad.
And then last autumn, the autumn just gone.
Yeah, so then they had the Wales win, which was Capuzzo, one of the best players to watch.
Yeah.
He's so good. I was genuinely gutted when he wasn't fit for the Scotland games. I didn't want to see him.
But you're glad we didn't see him now.
Yeah, it was too tight.
Yeah.
Oh my god! Like before we'll get to the moment, like with the Duhan try and then the Kinghorn try at the end. I'll walk you through. Basically, it's at the end of the game. We are 5 minutes where Italy are camped on the line.
Yeah.
And we are. The referee was right. I watched it back, but we are screaming rather unpleasant things about his personality, insinuating things around his mother, like all sorts of things are going towards the referee at this stage, right? We then get the knock on, which I think Skinner smacked him in the bus in the build up to it. It's irrelevant. We get the knock on. We get a penalty. Then we are screaming for him to kick it out, and then there's a bit where Duhan goes past. Oh my god! So on. It's like, don't run. I lost my phone. I elbowed Christie in the face.
Oh God!
And I hugged a stranger.
Oh.
All in the process of that try. It was one of the moments I'll never forget.
I never have I known a man to annoy their partner 3 times in
Just
such quick succession.
In quick succession.
I'm good at that.
Yeah.
I'm really
the
good
phone came out of here, went over that way.
And
I went up and she was down looking for the phone, and I was like, yes, and down went the elbow.
And then you hugged the stranger.
And then I hugged the stranger, yeah. I did well.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was good.
Did she speak to you on the way home?
She did. She thought it was funny.
Fair enough.
If Scotland had the try disallowed, I don't think she'd have spoken to me. That's a separate thing. So I thought Negri. There was actually quite a lot of good performances from individual players. I thought the Wales game got away from them and they fell apart.
Yeah.
The England game they were disappointing in. They are so unlucky not to win the Scotland game.
Mm-hmm.
We should have had the game out of sight by half time.
Yeah.
And when we're 19-6 up, that game shouldn't be close. No. But from where they were at 73 minutes upwards to 79 minutes, if you'd have given me £100 and said, "Where's the goal to score in Italy?" They should have won that game. It was there, but I thought Negri was great. All Six Nations. We've got some really good backs. Obviously, Carbisi is one of the best 10s. He'll get there. Like he'll get going.
Yeah, he just needs a bit of time.
Yeah. The amount he's got a ridiculous number of caps for how old he is, but that's good. He's at some stage it's just going to kick. Wales, well, unfortunately, so it's now going to the last. We will let you guess who we think the France player of the tournament was. It was Dupont.
I've put Dupont as an obvious answer.
Yeah.
And then I've done one taking Dupont out.
And it's Peno.
And it's Ramos. I think as a 15 he was really good. He was a really good solid.
He's improved
He
a
was
lot.
Solid kicking option for France. How many times did they need to score?
He was
3
the
points?
highest.
Did they need to score 3 points?
And they did.
And he did.
Yeah, he did
put it
well.
right between the sticks.
Wales?
For Wales now, we've got the obvious option, which for me was Rio Dyer, I think.
Yeah, Dyer was the...
As this kind of breakout year in Wales. He reminds me of when...
He's a threat.
Yeah, he reminds me of when Lewis Rees-Zammit blew on the scene.
Yeah. Not that special.
No, but
he was amazing.
There's something about him.
Yeah, I think he was good, really, really solid. I think that it wasn't a great Six Nation for Wales. Adam Beard is still one of the best second rows goal.
Consistent.
Yeah, he's phenomenal.
Consistent.
And he's such a pain at line out. Like
Yeah.
Scotland should have scored more points against Wales, and it was because Beard made that maul defence. Because we got a lot of really solid go forward. We never got it going.
The other person for me in that Wales team, and I'll explain it in 2 minutes, is Ken Owens.
Yeah, okay. So
And-
fire away.
Did he play a great Six Nations? No, I don't think he did. I think he was relatively consistent as a hooker comes. But he was the captain of the team, of the country where the whole rugby union structure was falling around him. And it was almost put on him and Gatland's shoulders at press time. Because the chief exec never turned up in any of the pressers.
No.
And Gatland's a coach.
And Gatland was just like, I'm not interested.
Yeah. It fell on Ken Owens' shoulders, and he still managed to turn up to the games and not self-implode. So, and you know, if we looked at what he'd done on the pitch, it wasn't fantastic.
But
It wasn't worse. None of them were. But I think in terms of what he was trying to shoulder during that, the threat of the strike before that England game,
That was mad.
that was crazy. I've never seen that before.
No.
And
We're striking a lot at the minute.
well, that's a very political decision, a conversation that we will
Yeah.
not have.
Yeah.
But yeah, what he was shouldering, what those Wales guys were, has now come out. You know, guys who are on £250,000 a year being offered 30 grand.
Well, they're going elsewhere. But the problem is that, again, it's a contract thing and it's not a particularly interesting discussion. But if you're on X amount and the world now knows you're offered 30k, that's a poor bargaining position to be in.
Yeah.
But yeah,
And
Wales need to get it together. But the ladies were brilliant last week.
I haven't watched the Women's Six Nations, I must be honest. I've been relatively busy.
Scotland were not. The England team's a world apart.
Yeah.
Like a world apart. Wales were brilliant.
Yeah, it's pretty much England, the All Blacks, and then everybody else.
The French team were pretty good.
Yeah.
French team were pretty good.
Yeah, fair.
But everybody else, it's totally different stages.
Yeah.
It's toddlers, teenagers, and adults.
Yeah.
That's what you're looking at. But I mean, I'm aware they're smaller, so I can't mind. Right, so that's the teams. We've got the players we've gone through. We've gone through our team. We've done the Scotland review. We have one thing less to talk about. There will be tears.
Can we just not do it?
No, let's get it. So I have started a video on Stuart Hogg.
Yeah.
So I will let you do most of this, because a lot of mine is going to go into the video.
I think in terms of Stuart Hogg, it's simple.
Yep.
He's been the single most consistently shining light in Scottish rugby for, 10 years now?
11 years.
11 years. So we're going back to 2012. And from day one, Cap 1.
Yep. More starts than anybody else.
More starts than anybody else. More tries than anybody else. More points?
No, Patterson by miles.
Right, okay. So
He didn't kick.
he didn't kick. I think a lot of where Scottish rugby is right now, is because of Stuart Hogg. Because people who, and we're a bit old to be those people affected by it. But you're talking about your likes of Rory Darch,
Darcy Graham.
Darcy Graham. You're younger. If you look at that national team, the youngest people in there, you're Ben Whites.
Yeah.
Probably looked at Stuart Hogg when he'd done his first cap in 2012
I can do it, yeah.
and go,
We can
I
be that
want
guy.
to be that person.
We can be that guy.
I think he has single-handedly turned around Scottish rugby.
Stuart Hogg is the best professional player we've ever had.
Yeah.
We're talking about who goes on the Scotland Mount Rushmore of professional players. Now, so I don't remember anything really pre-2005.
Yeah. I'm
So
a bit later than that. but
I didn't see Scotland win the 99
The
Five
Five
Nations.
Nations.
I didn't.
We were 6, let's be honest.
Yeah, and I wasn't into rugby. We were both swimmers at
Yeah.
the time, and we were both born in '93, so we did not see the Grand Slam in 1990. So the best player I've ever seen play for Scotland is Stuart Hogg. He's the most important. He is the first professional player. The standards he has brought up.
Yeah.
The video I'm currently working on is entitled "Those Three Little Words." So you can guess where that's going.
3.
Those three little words. It's "I love you." Those. It's not that. It's a play on that. But anyway, Stuart Hogg was the first player that I actually enjoyed watching Scotland.
Yeah.
Like for me was the most important bit was when you're a Scotland fan. Well, I used to go to Murrayfield with like family. Scotland would get beat every time, right? I went to Murrayfield like 3 or 4 times before some sort of try. Stuart Hogg changed that.
Yeah.
I think he is. Stuart Hogg at his absolute peak is the best player I've seen play for Scotland.
Potentially in the conversation of best fullback in the world.
Yeah, at the time he was in the conversation.
At peak.
So this is the
We're
thing.
talking.
The problem, the issue with Hoggy was when he got his Lions tour, that wasn't the tour.
Yeah.
He'd already gone the other. Not necessarily he's bad, but he stretches the imagination. But Stuart Hogg, when he should have played in New Zealand, I maintain, this is again a slightly biased opinion, he's my Steven Gerrard in rugby.
Yeah.
Like I'm in the process of trying to convince Christy to let me get a Stuart Hogg thing. So Christy, if you're watching. That's who he is. And
Yeah,
I think the Lions would have won that tour, and they were jammy to get a draw. And I think Hogg would have made the difference because that's who he was at that time.
Yeah,
and he was that special. And like you said, the changes he's done, he's won everything at club level. He won the whatever the hell the URC was at it was like a Pro 14 or something like that for Glasgow.
Yeah.
He's won everything at Exeter. He's won the Calcutta Cup for Scotland for the first time in God knows how long.
Yeah.
He's captained Scotland. He's a Test Lion. Like, if you're not born into an Ireland, or France, New Zealand, realistically, I say that, and Wales have won the Six Nations. If you're Scottish, you're probably not winning those titles.
Yeah.
He's done everything he could possibly do, and I did not take the news well. But, so you've got a point you want to make, and I'm going to end up arguing with you on this, but I know this. But what was your point on Stuart Hogg walking away now? Or what are your thoughts on Hogg walking away now?
It's that he's still good.
Yeah.
He's not. Let's use a rugby reference. Alan Wynne-Jones. Alan Wynne-Jones 2 years ago.
So you'd assaulted the South Africans, the Welsh, and the Italians.
Yeah.
Okay, continue.
2 years ago, Alan Wynne was one of the best second rows. Coming towards the end of his career 2 years ago. And by that point had already cemented himself as one of the best second rows in the world, let alone
Wales' best ever forwards.
One of Wales' best ever players.
Yeah.
And now that I see him, I've seen him in the Six Nations, I've even seen him in the Autumn Test Series stuff, and I go, why are you still here?
They need him.
But he doesn't do anything. He comes in and he looks a shadow of the man that he did. He plays half the games that he used to. He gets predominantly injured in most of them, and they're not small injuries anymore.
I don't know what he's made of.
Drugs. We've had that
Allegedly.
discussion. We've had that discussion on how
Allegedly.
quickly on how quickly he can turn around an injury, and it might just be that he's made of special stuff, but
most of them are.
yeah.
I
think Alan Wynne should have left Wales 2 years ago, because you look at him now and you go, you're just not the player that you used to be.
But you remember him for now, because they need him now. You want to remember him for now. Like when someone says to you in 10 years' time, Alan Wynne-Jones, if you're a Wales fan, you remember Alan Wynne-Jones that won the Grand Slams. You won't remember the Alan Wynne-Jones in this nightmare of a Wales team. But he's needed there. And now, should he be starting is a total fair thing. But there is something to be said for walking.
Yeah.
Route before you're pushed.
Yes.
And I think that's probably what Hoggy's done. And do you know what? So we had a conversation, you were asking me about one of the things that makes the greatest of all time players, right, is that they know when to walk away.
Yes.
That is inaccurate, in my opinion.
I don't disagree. Sorry, I do disagree.
So, make your case. Yeah.
Knew when to walk away.
No.
Yeah.
No, we let him go. Wrongly, we let him go to America. We should have kept him, but we let him go.
He went to America because he could still play football.
He went to America because we didn't give him another contract. If we'd given him another contract, it's a totally separate thing.
Yeah.
But he'd have stayed. He stayed on.
Completely different era, no point talking about it. Because what he had, what Muhammad Ali...
They do the same now. Roy Jones, 1990,
Yeah.
first middleweight to win the heavyweight title in 100 years.
Mm-hmm.
He did that in 2003. He's still fighting today. Michael Jordan, when he did the three-peat, he ended up coming back and playing for the Washington Wizards. He wasn't bad. He wasn't MJ.
No, it wasn't MJ.
Tiger Woods, He's still playing golf now.
But I believe Tiger Woods has lost his GOAT status. He's no longer the greatest of all time because what he's now doing is playing against people like Rory McIlroy, like Scottie Scheffler, like all these brilliant golfers, and he's getting pumped.
Yeah, because he's not the human being. Because he's not physically what he was.
And that's the reason why I think that you should walk away when you're still at your peak. I think Phelps
didn't walk away.
Came to, was it London?
Rio.
Was it Rio?
Phelps was in Rio.
No, he went to London.
He definitely went to London, but he went to
Beijing
Rio.
was when he got the 8.
Phelps was Phelps.
That was Phelps.
Right.
Then
he was
to
at London, but then he was at Rio.
I know he was then at Rio, and I'll get back to that, but Phelps, when he was at London, I remember watching it on the TV. And you just sat there and looked at him. And obviously we were swimmers, so that's something that I can relate to. I looked at Phelps in Beijing and went,
that's the best.
He was your inspiration. That was the best you were ever going to see.
You're never going to see better than him.
And then you went to Phelps and you went to London, and you just looked at him and you went, what have you become?
Because he still won 4 goals at London, which is hilarious.
I know.
But this is why you're talking about this. So I don't agree that being part of the best ever, part of it is walking away. Because I actually think what makes you great is this kind of self-delusion that you have to be that good. But Stuart Hogg walking away will do him the world of favours moving forward, because physically, when you know it's not there, it's not there. You don't want it anymore, it's not coming back, right? And it'll do him the world of good. And what will happen is he gets to walk away on his time when he is the starting fullback for Scotland at the World Cup, rather than when he is
on the bench,
because he's looking for a new club. He's not getting the deal from Exeter. He won't come back to Scotland because he's too much on there, which means it becomes difficult. He'd still get a new club and he would still play for Scotland, but he wouldn't make the next World Cup. So he gets to walk away on his terms. He's at 100 caps. Oh my God, was I bawling my eyes out when he came out with Archie doing the ball. Oh, it was...
Honest, he wasn't.
Yeah, I thought he did really well. Yeah. So all credit to him. I'm devastated.
For me, part of that GOAT status is just being able to walk away when you know that it's enough.
So who else has done that?
Not very many.
Because Hamilton's the best Formula 1 driver. He didn't walk away. He's not walked away.
But
Schumacher is the other one. I'm not going to talk about Senna because that was a totally different issue.
Yeah.
Right? What other sports have you got?
I don't watch many other sports. I'm not going to lie. That's part of the issue. But if we want to talk about the Formula 1 side, Schumacher coming back, I think tainted his view of things. I think Hamilton is still. I think part of what Lewis's problem is the car.
But it's always the car.
Exactly, it is always the car. But there's an argument there. It's completely separate. I still think Lewis has another title.
This is a completely separate. Yeah. Anyway, Stuart Hogg, I think if he feels that way, he's made the right call.
Yeah.
And I miss him dearly, and there will be a video out about Stuart Hogg.
Long live Blair Kinghorn.
It's got to be Kinghorn that comes in, isn't it? I think there's something about when these players go.
Yeah.
He was everything when I was growing up watching him, and Hogg was that for me when I was playing rugby myself, when I was coming up watching it, when I was when I got into Scotland to a real degree. It was Hogg that did it.
He was a defining. He is.
It's like Hatton when I got into boxing. It was Hatton that did it for me.
Yeah.
And it's when these guys walk away. I don't know if you get that in your 30s. Like if you get that
happens for us in the next couple of months.
Yeah. So it's a lot of devastating news. But I don't know if you get that in your 30s. That same love for a player.
Yeah.
Or an individual or a thing.
We're about to find out.
Yeah, that's it. So on that depressing note, thank you for watching, ladies and gentlemen. Please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and let us know in the comment section which sport you're here for. Drop a B for boxing, a W for weightlifting, and an R for rugby. Anything else you would like to say or plug before we go?
No, nothing. Actually, since I'm here, just a big shout out to local rugby club that I play for.
Yeah, go for it.
Dagenham, up the D's, innit? We just won our league, and we were meant to be playing tomorrow in the cup, but unfortunately the team that we were playing got scared and couldn't field the team, or didn't want to field the team, or
look forward to clipping this.
Yeah, have fun.
Yeah.
So up the D's.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I got Dagenham. I actually went and watched you guys play, and you were all really good. Yeah. So it was good. But thank you for watching, everyone, and have a great evening.
Thank you very much.